Hey, Corey, thanks for joining us today. As way of getting started, give us a little background on yourself.
Yeah, my name's Corey Crapes. I'm from the Inland Northwest, and currently I'm a founder of a SaaS startup where we focus on empowering businesses to collect, organize, and utilize their most powerful asset, their first-party website data. So before that, I worked in fintech for a number of years, and then auto industry, and before that, the military. So I've done quite a bit of different things.
Yeah. And what's your passion for sales? How'd you get involved in it? What do you like about it?
I'm one of those born salesman types.
Are you?
So yeah, I think my first sales job was actually selling candles. Where I grew up, there was a candle shop, and I really got and fell in love with sales, learning how to demo selling a candle at craft fairs and things like that as a young kid. And then I've just always been in sales. Even in the military, I kind of jokingly said I was in sales. So
What do
that's
you like about it?
I think, like everyone else, the freedom and the money is what at first interested me in sales. And then as I've dove further into it, kind of my natural curiosity. What I really like about sales is you can position yourself in a company that maybe you don't have all the hard skills, but as long as you have the soft skills, they usually train you on the hard skills. So I've just found the freedom to be part of cutting edge technologies and just fast moving companies. I'm definitely one of those people that's kind of addicted to it. So
Yeah. And what do you feel makes a great salesperson?
for me, I have always found curiosity.
Yeah.
Um, I've watched sales reps, and I've trained a lot of sales reps over the years. But the sales reps that are genuinely curious, not only about their customers' pain points, but also their products and the solution that they offer. Um, I always joke, I'll stop doing cold outreach or stop doing sales when someone knocks on my door and wants to buy my product. Um, so I think you have to have that natural curiosity and like for people. I really do believe that. We all know sales is a contact sport, is one of my favorite sayings in sales, and the people make it. So I think that's probably it for me.
Yeah. And how about was the genesis for starting your own company? That sounds a little scary.
Yeah, it is a little scary. I must admit, probably my co-founder is a great salesman because he kind of
Okay.
talked me into it a little bit. But no, I just kind of reached that point. I'd been in senior leadership a little bit at some companies and had, got exposed. I was fortunate enough to work for some public co's in Scottsdale, Arizona, and got kind of exposed to raising capital and just all that goes into that. And it was kind of one of those things like most of my sales career. Once I've seen it once or twice, I kind of figured out my own way of doing it. So it's been a wild ride. Obviously, with everything that's happened in the last year, from interest rates and things like that to AI to just, it's been a wild ride this last year, especially. So,
And what stage are you at now? Do you have a
yeah.
product
So,
release?
yeah. So we had a product release earlier last year, and then we did a pre-seed round. It was about a year ago where we raised some capital. And now I've taken our MVP. We're on version 8 of our software. So we're about ready to launch the newest version, which is a massive leap forward. We finally feel we've started to find product market fit, which anyone that's doing a software startup understands how much fun that journey is. But no, we're getting to the fun part. I'll put it that way. So it's been 3 years in the making. We started right before COVID. So it was a good time to keep your head down and work on a product. But we're very thankful to be coming out of that stage. So
And was there a technical co-founder involved or was just you
yeah,
guys?
so the technical co-founder, we actually worked together over 10 years ago at a startup. We both did very well there, went our separate ways, worked for other companies, and had careers. And then we both kind of got lucky on some stuff and had the opportunity to bootstrap and start our company. But no, I'm definitely the non-technical co-founder. I don't code or anything like that. So
So you're on the revenue generating side.
yes, I'm on the sales and marketing side, we'll call it. But yeah, I focus mainly on just talking to customers and getting the feedback. That's one of the things that I've liked. I've been in sales now for over 20 years. I've liked the progression of how smart clients have gotten and how willing they are to give you feedback. I think that's been the biggest change in my sales career, is understanding how willing potential clients are willing to give you feedback and do things like that. So
Yeah. And what's it like getting new or clients for a new
yeah,
product?
it's there's it's definitely been an experience. I mean, I've got some pretty thick skin. I've done B2B sales, I've pulled doors, I've made the hundreds of cold calls a day for years on end. So I would say I was hardened for this position, but you definitely have to believe in what you're selling. And that's one of the biggest things that I wish I could have learned maybe a little earlier in my sales career is it's okay to go work for the best product in the vertical. I think a lot of sales reps, especially when you're starting out, maybe don't have the confidence or the network to get into those roles. But I found firsthand that sometimes it's important to slow down a little bit to speed up. So I've been very fortunate in taking maybe some positions that, I'd already mastered, but were able to get my foot into a really good opportunity or company. And I think that's one thing that maybe I wish I knew earlier on. Instead of getting the biggest OTE and all that, maybe hitch your buggy to a faster horse, or a better opportunity. And that's one thing that I really try to convey now that I guess I have people asking me to mentor them. That's a new thing for me, as long with my gray hair that's coming in. It's I think it's one thing that if I would have maybe had that advice a little earlier, I'd probably be further down the path of where I wanted to go in my sales career.
And who are you selling to? What's the persona?
Yeah, so our ICP is mainly businesses that are currently wanting to build their email marketing lists,
Okay.
SMN lists, direct to mail, anyone that wants to build their marketing lists, and then also anyone that's doing any type of digital paid advertising. We can take that first party data, feed it into your ad platforms and improve your ad performance. Um, the other thing that we've really focused on is helping businesses that have a huge footprint, but maybe not as much of a digital footprint. So like anyone with a high lead cost. So think finance, solar, automotive. Yes, they do digital, but not the same way that e-com does. So we're bringing some of these things that we've learned in the e-com vertical to other more brick and mortar businesses. We do upper small businesses to medium sized businesses is kind of our sweet spot currently.
And so you're calling on the marketing department, the people who manage the email list? Is
Yeah,
that
yeah. Usually we try to get our product champion in the marketing department because they're going to be the people using the product. It also, you found the faster you can get to the people that are actually going to use your product, especially when you're trying to find product market fit, they will very quickly let you know, as opposed to usually we have to get a sign off from procurement or C-level executive or something like that to implement it. But if you don't have that product champion or someone that's at least familiar with what you're trying to do, it becomes very difficult. So I know you guys talk about from bottom up sales cycles and things like that. Um, I think those are important to know who's going to use the software or tool, no matter what you're selling. Who's the user, and that's what we focus on mainly here. You're 100% right.
and how do you get them bought in? Is there kind of
Yeah, so we use the product-led growth model.
okay.
So we offer a completely free forever free trial. We've gotten to the point we find we offer value very quickly. So we're kind of in the sweet spot. We try to position ourselves in a how can we take advantage of a sunsetting technology and capitalize on the new technologies coming out. I'm not sure if everyone's aware, but third-party cookies have been being
Yeah.
deprecated across the industry. iOS 14.5 a couple years back really wreaked havoc on a lot of companies, and now Google, even though they've pushed it back a couple times, has a pretty good game plan on looking like sunsetting third-party cookies on their browser, Google Chrome, which subsequently is about 70% of the market. So right now yes, it helps you build these lists faster. Yes, it helps you, improve what you're doing, but we're also going to have a stick here pretty soon where the technology is not going to be useful anymore here coming very soon. So we might have been a little early, which everyone knows is sometimes just as bad as being late, but luckily that gives more time to build a better product. So,
So you got a free version. What is it
yep.
usage that ticks into the
Yeah.
paid?
So what kicks it up is the number of profiles we're able to build for you. So it's tied to traffic. We joke around here, internet traffic sold separately. I can't collect and process what doesn't exist. Well, everyone in sales knows you sell this amazing product or amazing service to someone. It kind of reminds me, like I said, I'm from the Northwest and we go four wheeling a lot up here, but it's people that buy, huge Jeeps and all that and just drive them around on concrete all day. It's kind of the same thing. Don't get me wrong, I love Jeeps. My family's from Toledo, Ohio, where they build a bunch of them. But at the end of the day, I think it's important to put your product in a position to actually get the use out of it you want.
Yeah. And how much of the usage do you need?
Yeah.
Because
Yes. No, great question. So what I tried to kind of figure out was how could we build lead generation in a residual place? How could we look at a piece of technology that almost every business owner has that they probably wish they were getting more out of it? And how could we automate all these processes so they don't have to bring on new team members, right? Everyone always talks ROI like it's just dollars. There's so much more to it than that. If you have to bring on
yes.
new people, train people,
And
you know, getting things up and running. Every sales rep that's listening to this, and shout out to all the road warriors out there real quick, but the sales reps that go through CRM changes or updating your notes and sale, there's all those memes and jokes about it, but it's a very big lift for sales organizations that have a lot of members to change their software. So we've made it to where it automates the whole entire process. People can go from registration to installation. It's totally self-serve in under 5 minutes. And then we start processing that data immediately and start building in profiles. So we found the sooner you can get your value to your client, really upgrading them is not hard. I mean, the price points on these things are anywhere from 49 to 349 a month. So we tried to bring enterprise level solutions and automate it and build them in a way that they're available to small and medium sized businesses. And where we kind of got this idea is we were in fintech when Square came in.
okay.
And in the beginning, I don't know how many people were around for that, but Square, took a while to get going. And a lot of the larger processing companies didn't really want to process a mobile payment for 20 bucks down at the park. We wanted to focus more on enterprise level stuff. But as the market shifted, as more and more people started to use, credit and debit cards all over for everything, they really took in market share. And we're trying to do the same thing. There's a lot of companies that don't do email marketing or don't do, direct mail has really made a huge push lately for a lot of our clients. But I think it's important for people to sometimes, especially if they've been in their role for a number of years, to kind of step back for a second, go to a higher level and take a view of what are they really trying to accomplish. We do everything digital here under the sun, but my best performing thing is still direct mail.
Really?
I can put together, I put together gift packages or care packages for an agency. I mail them out to them. And then when I call on them, I say, hey, I'm that guy that sent you this crazy, cookies and snacks and all that. And at least you have an in. And I think a lot of times we get so caught up in automation and just focusing on the ease of use,
Ease. Yeah.
the ease of use there that we can, a lot of people just appreciate that I take the time. I handwrite the address on the thing. I do it for about an hour every day. I just sit down and do it. And plus, it gives me time. It's amazing how much you learn and pick up where your clients are located, where they are. Everyone remembers in school where they'd make you write things down. Well, at least they used to, to make you absorb it better. And I'm one of those people. So I think it's just a good time to reflect on just how big the opportunity is that we're tackling because of the different areas. And that's one of my favorite things about doing those types of outreach. Plus, everyone remembers. I mean, we all remember when we get gifts. They don't come as much as
No,
they used to.
no, they don't.
If you've been in sales for a while, that used to be the whole thing. When someone did something, you send them a huge gift, you'd call, get together, maybe buy lunch for their company, things like that. So I've taken some of those, back when we faxed deals around approach to sales a little bit more than the average guy. So
That's smart. And are
yeah.
you trying to keep the price so that the user can put it on the corporate credit card and skip the procurement?
Yeah, we've done it for a couple reasons. Yes, procurement and legal and all those fun things that you get into when you start talking about 5, 6 figure SaaS is definitely one of them. But also, I think it just makes it out of reach. It's really hard to get businesses that have never really done these types of things to be able to go, the marketing director or marketing manager go to their lead, their CMO, and say, hey, I need this $20,000 piece of software or something like that right out the gate. So we really try to focus on keeping it small so we can get in, kind of our Trojan horse to get in. And then once we start building out and get a better idea of their business, then we can start to maybe upsell them or sell them different packages. Because right now, because we're launching, we have an unlimited package, but as we move upstream and, get more of a buzz going, we'll obviously update our pricing as we add more value to the industry.
Well, what's the hardest part of the sale?
Um, the knowledge disconnect. So it is a new technology.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm selling something that's been around and everyone knows how it works. So I think the hardest part is cutting through the noise, getting the attention. And that's where, once again, I've just found slowing down and putting more into your outreach versus less. And then also hitting them different ways. I think it's important to diversify your outreach nowadays because not everyone is receptive. I have some people I cold call them. They absolutely love it. They can't believe that I'm calling them, taking the time. Then you have other people that are never going to answer their phone. And the same thing with email. So I think it's important to realize that not everyone is receptive to your offering the way you're pitching it. And I'm a huge subscriber in the go for no. Like I love my law of averages. I love knowing my metrics. And that's another thing I think that's made me successful in sales. Your comp plan can tell you so much more about the company than just how you get paid. And I think it's very important for sales reps to understand their comp plan, not just to how to get paid, but it will really give you an insight to what higher ups think is important. They're going to use comp to try to direct you in what's important to the company.
Yeah.
And if the comp doesn't match your values for what you're trying to bring to your customers, you might want to either have a conversation with your manager about why you see it that way, how you see it that way, and maybe it's just one of those it's always been done this way situations. But I have found understanding your comp plan is kind of a secret way to build rapport with your managers and higher ups. Understanding why they have that comp. Everyone always, oh, the bigger deals get bigger comp. Well, there's a reason why. And obviously, a lot of it's tied to revenues and things like that. But there's usually more to it. One thing in the auto industry was CSI scores and things like that. Like, there's a lot of value in understanding why the company you work for is compensating you the way they are. So,
And how about as far as articulating what the product does so that it doesn't fall into the marketing automation
yep.
category or
So you're 100% right. And that's the hardest part is we get lumped into a lot like lead generation or scraping emails and things like that. That's not what we're doing. So I think the biggest thing that I found is identify maybe, let's say you have 100 companies in the sector you're going after. I try to find some in that 50 to 75 percentile of where they're at in the industry. A, because they're usually growing very fast and they're open to experiencing and trying new things because they're not set in their ways and maybe don't have some of the habits that the more established players in the industry are. And then I've always found if you take care of that 50 to 75 percentile, it's amazing to me how many people they know in the 50 to 25 percentile. And then those people know the people in the 25 to the top percentile. A lot of people that maybe were mid managers in one of those top, logo companies usually go on to become upper management in a newer company. And that's the other thing that I've always tried to really empower my reps and make a positive impact, even reps that I know maybe weren't going to be top sales reps. I'm blown away by now how many of those average, we'll call them 50 percentile sales reps, are now still in the sales industry, as opposed to some of those top sales reps have gone on to the new shiny thing. And now those are the people I'm calling on. I just had a call last week. It was a lady I trained 10 years ago. I honestly didn't really remember her much. She remembered me very clearly.
yeah.
I'd flown to their office, done a training, met her, had a huge impact on her views at that time. And now it's when you make a cold call, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, is this really you? You trained me 10 years ago." So I think if you're going to make sales your career, bridges will get burned for you by people that you don't want to work with. I don't think you really need to actively look for that. And if you take time finding the right situation, but this is a long game, whether you realize it or not. And we've all had that uncomfortable meeting where you go and it's someone you met 10 years ago that maybe you didn't have the best interaction with. And that's when you ask for a turn. No, I'm just kidding. But you know what I mean? Like it's just I think with the pace of technology that at the end of the day, people buy from people. And if you can really hone that before most of your peers understand that as a sales rep, I think your career is going to take off much faster than your peers.
And have you started hiring your team at the current company?
No, we're just at the founder level. So we're gonna push out our new version of this product, and then we'll be doing a seed round in Q1, and then we'll be building out the team. Where so much of our stuff is automation, it's such a unique sell and finding product market fit. That's another thing that I'm happy I have the sales background I have. I know a lot of founders get into the trap of trying to find that magical VP of sales or the top performer from an industry. Um, I've met lower bottom, percentile reps that are a much better fit for startups than the top reps at a huge
Yeah.
company. I've fallen victim to that. I've worked for some pretty large market cap companies. It's really fun having a whole team of marketers, and I know it's a bad word in sales, but it is fun when your marketing department is really, really good, versus doing it all on your own. So we will be starting that process here Q1, but it's mainly going to be on content creation, customer success, those roles. I really feel that sales has always been a customer success role, but they've put this new sticker on it. Um, and that's the other thing. Depending on what you're selling, I think it's important to know, what does after the sale look like. I was fortunate enough to work with a gentleman early on in my career that had worked at the same place for 20 years, had turned down every promotion they offered him, and he was the happiest sales rep ever. I don't know if he ever made a call, took it up, nothing. He had such a referral network because every car he sold, he personally went out to set up all their stuff, would go to their house. I mean, he would set up everything, make sure their garage had enough space. I mean, just things that everyone does, but he turned it into a process. And I was very fortunate to watch that early on. I mean, he's still selling cars right now in Utah, and he does very, very well. And he's still, just a sales rep. He could have gone into F&I or the desk or anything at any time. So
Well,
I think
that's
it's
it. And I think
important to know.
people overlook that because
Yeah, and it's easy to overlook. I was listening to a podcast of your guys' this morning that you guys were talking about bad habits and how easy they are to form and how hard they are to break. And you guys use sugar and some other examples that, we all can come with. But I think the hardest part for sales is, that sugar is usually money. Bad habits can get you to money very, very quickly. But once you burn through that, prospect list, you're kind of done. And I think that was a really interesting episode where you guys were talking about that. I think it's very important. But I also think it's important for people to realize bad habits, you may not even know they're a bad habit. I was
no,
trained in some ways that I thought those were the best skills ever. And as you get older, you're like, whoa, that really was costing me X, Y, and Z, down the road. Um, and the other thing is, I think I think people really, you're right. People really need to focus on what is the lifetime value, right? That's one thing in software we all talk about is lifetime value, churn rate, things like that. Those things exist in every industry, in my opinion. It's just they're not as documented as they are in ours. But if you work in an industry where you sell something that can be bought from you again and you're not having any repeat customers, you might want to look at what you're doing after the sale or maybe even before the sale. But there's clues in your breakdown of your process. And that's what I really love about sales is mistakes and maybe bad habits and all those things are nothing more than the problem you can fix, right? There's knowing's half the problem. Sales makes it really easy to know what your problem is. Usually you have enough metrics, you can look at your funnel, wherever that breakdown is. And then the other thing I really try to focus on when I'm training people or even myself is be self-aware of what you're good at and outsource what you're bad at.
yeah.
This doesn't need to be a painful process. And I feel like sometimes we look at sacrifice in sales as like a badge of honor. At least it used to be a lot more than it is nowadays, right? Uh, I think it's okay to outsource or at least focus on figuring out the things you need to work on and let the other things go. If you're a really good closer, I wouldn't work on the best closing tactics. If you're really, I'd maybe look at more creating more opportunities for you to close or things like that. So
Is there one skill in the sales skill suitcase that isn't your cup of tea or
I, yeah, honestly, a lot of it isn't my cup of tea. I think uh, my biggest challenge is I love to talk a lot and I can spend way too much time on a task that didn't require as much time. So time management is probably my biggest thing that I've realized as I get further into my sales career that's important. Um, and then the other thing that I really struggle with is email communication. It's very impersonal to me. Um, I hate the waiting of trying to figure out if someone got your email right. That's a whole new thing. Did your email go to spam for some
yeah.
reason?
Right.
I can't tell you how many deals, a couple years ago I was losing because people were responding to my outreach wanting our product. And for some reason, some of my emails were going to spam. I either screwed something up or whatever. So I had a really good mentor, probably the best, as inspect what you expect. If you're not going, if you're in sales leadership and you're not going through your own processes as a secret shopper or customer, I think you're making a huge mistake. Um, you know, Sales is not the hide your head in the sand profession. I think your process are very important. We all get comfortable. I'm no different than anyone else, but I try to at least once a month go through our sales process, act like I'm signing up for our service, act like I have a support issue, act like the things that your employees and contractors are going to deal with, and try to be honest with yourself about the pain points and the friction. We've all gotten so used to like one-click checkouts, free shipping, things like that. I mean, the statistics, I don't have them off the top of my head, but the statistics on adding one click or taking away one click is just, it's mind-blowing to me. I mean,
It
we're
is.
talking, you can lose half your funnel if there's an extra click in a step that they're not used to. And then it starts to come into, you know, does this person know what they're doing? And then you start to lose credibility in your processes. So I think that's very important for people, is just to constantly be taking an inventory. Everyone always talks about, we've all heard the quote a million times, give me 4 hours to cut down a tree, I'll sharpen action. What does that mean in your profession? It's really easy to say, oh, I'm going to spend 4 hours getting ready for this. I think you need to break that down more. And that's what I've really tried to do, is really break down step by step each piece of my funnel. What am I trying to get out of this? Can this be eliminated? Traditional funnels, some of the steps are not needed anymore. I mean, buyers interviews and all that are great, but it's very different. You used to have buyers interviews a lot, in my opinion, to see how much your customer at least had a clue of what was going on and what they were about to buy. Nowadays, almost every client I talk to that's already gone through it, they know more than I do, almost in some cases, their specific use cases, what they want out of it, their pain points. So I think it's really important to kind of realize that it's not the same as selling 10 years ago. The internet has changed everything, and people expect it to be a frictionless, easy process. So
I think that's a great point. And if you, because when they start using your product, no matter how well it's designed and user
yeah,
interface is gorgeous, it's
yep,
new. It's new to them.
exactly.
And if they have even the slightest bit of friction or frustration, it's the product's fault, not theirs.
Yep. You're 100% right. And I mean, we see it constantly, right, with what we do. But I always think of, it's like everyone probably has bought their parents a cell phone, right? At this point, like, you don't send your parents out to buy their own cell phone anymore, because they might make some purchases that don't make sense for what they need. But that's what it always reminds me of. My dad getting on his new iPhone and trying to use the camera or FaceTime his grandkids or something. That's how you should think of everything you're doing.
Yes.
And then once you understand that your client has a better knowledge, has a different starting point, I think it's important for a business to quickly move them through those steps that are normally used for everyone. It's not a one size fits all sales process anymore, in my opinion.
I think you're
So,
right. Hey, Corey, I really appreciate your time. Where can
yeah,
people go to connect and follow you?
yeah, you could connect with me on LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn just talking to folks all over. And then obviously you can go to rakedata.com and check us out, connect with me there as well. But mainly LinkedIn is my main place that I live and activate accounts on nowadays. I mean, LinkedIn, if you're not on LinkedIn, uh, please get on LinkedIn. I don't know how to say it any different. It's pretty much the only social media platform I use. I'm not a huge social media guy, but the conversations you can have, I mean, that's how we met. The conversations you can have on LinkedIn and the access to knowledge, it's mind blowing to me. It really is. So that's the best way to get a hold of me.